In a post-Resident Evil 5 world, it's not uncommon for a horror game to equip you with the following information. You are a person whose name is less than 3 syllables. You have the arsenal of the United States military and the power of Shiva the Destroyer. You must kill someone who is about to be God. Amnesia the Bunker is not one of these games. Instead, in the bunker, you are a man whose name is less than 3 syllables, you have a maximum of 2 guns, and you're probably gonna die considering everything you do attracts a demon. Now this is probably a good time for me to give you a content warning because this game features a lot of blood, a lot of gore, and quite a bit of disturbing imagery, especially if the monster's design here kinda irks you. So, if any of that's, triggering or whatever, go ahead and leave. It's okay. Your mental health's more important. The first thing that you hear and see in the bunker are the sounds of warfare and the grime of the trenches. Your main goal in this section is basically just survive the one case of oncoming gunfire and get to the safety of the trenches. Towards the end of the journey, you get hit with the mustard gas grenades and nearly die until Lambert, your best friend, brings you a gas mask and saves your life. Afterwards, you have to go out and look for Lambert, who went missing on patrol, and you find him in this giant pit thing. This is really important later, but for now, just know he drank some water from this pit and you brought each other back to the bunker safe and sound. Now this is where the actual game picks up. You wake up in a bed after being comatose for several days due to a German attack in the patrol segment, and immediately start to look around for any signs of life. This is where you find the first gameplay tool, the new handheld jet engine from Microsoft. Great for an alarm clock, horrible for sneaking around a dark bunker while a demon is chasing you. Speaking of the demon, why don't we talk about the demon a little bit? Now, because this isn't a story analysis video, this is a review video, and I want to mostly talk about the gameplay and, sound and music and shit like that, I'm just gonna be upfront with you. Go to the timestamp on screen if you don't want spoilers. The monster is Lambert. That water you gave Lambert in the pit was actually this water from the other world, which is this place in an Amnesia game that doesn't exist.
What did you do? What did you do to me? What do you mean?
Basically, I think it turns people into ghouls unless something happens, then they stay in a... I don't know. You know how Alexander gave people wine and it turned them into those things from the Dark Descent? Same logic. Okay, we solved the puzzle. Moving on. Now, to be honest, the rest of the story is nothing extremely special. And this is mostly due to Frictional continuing to use the Amnesia formula. Patent pending. Which is to say, you start the game in Act 2, learn about Act 1 through notes, and, in the case of the previous games, flashbacks.
Pick the man, cut the lines. Pick the man, cut the lines. Leave the man cries.
And get caught up to Act 2 by the time you reach Act 3. Usually the story of your character pre-game results in you questioning their morality and if they even deserve this victory you've worked towards, but not this one. Henry's only quote-unquote wrongdoing is just that he cheated in a game of picking sticks using sleight of hand to prank Lambert. Now, granted, this does result in the entire game taking place, but it's not like Henry was scheming that shit like some sort of Machiavellian. It's just, those are the consequences of his actions. Unlucky, I guess. Basically, TLDR, it's a good story, but it's an Amnesia story. Pretty much anyone knows how it's gonna go. Let's move on to gameplay. Now let's get our priorities straight here, and talk about the most important thing. You can see your fucking feet in this game! Holy shit! In the other 3 Amnesia games, you could not see your feet for shit, but now you can. This is what all of human history has been building towards. Alright, jokes aside, this game has some very cool gameplay features that I haven't seen in a few years. Some of my favorites are the central hub and safe room, which is very reminiscent of old Resident Evil games. and the branching out paths to where you actually need to go, rather than just making it a maze that you'll get lost in and inevitably die. And also, every single action you do in this game can and probably will summon the beast. There are very few exceptions, such as walking, opening drawers, and healing. If you run out of fuel, you are limited to your flashlight, which, as mentioned before, is basically a fucking jet engine in these dark, empty sets of tunnels, and the only quiet option is torches you can craft. But you need to be careful where you use the torch, because if you get near rats with it, the fire will scare them off, which is good for getting any dog tags, but it also causes them to run off screeching, and this makes noise, which is dangerous. And now this rat's going in the hole to tell Dad, and uh-oh, Dad's here, time to run like a madman back to any nearby hiding spots. Basically, in brief, every single thing you do that isn't just going from point A to B is a risk that you must calculate and consider all the pros and cons of. This door is locked and you need in there, and there are two ways in. You can throw a brick at it and make 2 loud bangs, or you can throw a grenade at it and make 1 loud bang, but that 1 loud bang will temporarily deafen you, and this limits your knowledge of the approximate distance between you and a one-way ticket to fucking dying. Also, I want to touch on the topic of the tinnitus effect a little more. I love the temporary tinnitus effect this game has for gunshots and grenades. It adds to the immersion of the experience and really shows Frictional's attention to detail with this work. And it's not like it makes everything else mute and replaces it all with ringing. You can still hear things, but they are muffled and distorted beyond recognition. And the last sound detail I want to point out, because a lot of this I feel like you should just experience on your own, is when you can hear the artillery above and the bunker starts shaking and you hear it reverberate through the halls. It's just incredible. I think the bunker is a great return to form from Frictional games, and it makes me really excited to see where they go with the Amnesia series, assuming they even continue making these. I don't think it's the best Amnesia game story-wise, because that would be a machine for pigs in my opinion, but gameplay-wise, it's absolutely their best so far, especially with how many tiny little details they put into things that you probably would never find on a normal playthrough. Considering all of the super good horror games this year have just been remakes, it's also really good to see something totally fresh and new. I honestly just cannot recommend this game enough, so I'm going to leave a link to it in the description. Overall, solid 9 out of 10.